Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to discuss about report definition and its uses. So let's get started. Once you log into Dev Studio, under Records Explorer, you can see reports. In this you can find category, report definition, shortcut. I would be explaining only about report definition in this video, and another these two concepts I will cover in next video. So report definitions belong to instances of rule obj report definition. Under this class, this particular report definitions are there. So these report definitions can be saved in any class that we are going to use. Before jumping into the topic, let's take an example. For displaying some records in a table with the columns, generally some people would like to prefer some Excels. So while getting the Excel, we can't sit and write many queries to get a data, and we can't explore that particular data to Excel, or we can't copy paste the respective data into an Excel. Suppose if you have many records, you can't even go ahead and run some queries on that. So to ease that particular scenario, PEGA has come up with a concept called as report definition. So in report definition, we are having query tab, chart, report viewer, data access, this norm parameter, these pages and classes, these are test case rule, specifications and history. Now I'm going to query tab. So in this query tab, you can see there is a column. So this column source is nothing but the columns associated with this respective class. So how can you know with which table this particular class is associated? As I said in one of the video, once you go to this class, right click, definition, and scroll down. First of all, if it is a concrete class, then only we can associate it with a database table. If it is an abstract class, we can't do it. So scroll down. If you click on test connection, you can see the table name. Now I'm closing this. So to get all the columns, you can click on add column, and just if you click dot, you can see the columns that are present in that respective table. This is best bets and this is all matches. So if you did not find anything over in best bets, you just click on all matches, so that you can see all the column names that are associated with this particular table. Now while reporting, for the front end, if you want to use this particular report as a UI, you can't show this particular column name. So for that, you can customize your name over here with some values if you want it. And this summarize, in general SQL terms, we would have some functions for seeing like what is the maximum record count in a table, or if you want to group the respective table, or if you want to see what is the minimum, like lowest value, what is the lowest value in for a respective record in that particular column, you can use all these things, right? For that, PEGA has given this particular summarize option. And if you want some sorting for your data that you have queried from the database, you can use this ascending or descending. Okay, and if you have some 5 columns and you want to sort everything, and you want to differentiate the sorter, like first you want to sort with PYD, then you want to sort with PXP data, then you can just give like this. And if you give sort order as 1 2, so first this sorting will be taking the precedence. After that, if you did not specify this, it will be of this same order. First it will sort this, and again the data will be sorted based on this particular column source. This settings tab is like, suppose if you want to hide column while you are displaying that, you can give this. And if you want to filter the respective records, here itself you can use this. And this is like, suppose for displaying, and if you want to specify some format for the column, you can specify over here. So as this is px covered count, it is of an integer value, that's why column formats related to integer would be showing here. So if you click all matches, you can see many other OOTB column formats. You can define your own column format as well, but this is like OOTB column format that are available in product. So you can add all the columns, there is no restriction over here. And suppose you want to use some functions, you can select a function over here. If you just give down arrow, it will show. many functions. Suppose we have a px create datetime. Now you want to convert this particular value just when it has been pulled from database. You can just give this convert date to time, and you can give some input to this particular function. So it will also show what is the signature of the function. See, it returns a text value which is in date times property. So if you give this, you no need to again do some modifications on data. Just directly with the use of this function you can achieve many things. If you want to clear, you can clear. For example, here px create date time. Here I am using a function to convert this particular date time. So here it is shown as a text value will be returned. So we have to be make sure that particular property while we are mapping in the report definition. So if you are giving some other integer value and you are expecting it to be mapped with the text value, then it will create some problems for you. So be sure of using these functions based on the signature and based on the property type it is expecting and returning while using that. Okay, so this is all about edit columns. You can delete the column and filter conditions. So normally here we have some filter options. So after that also you want to fine tune your data, you can scroll down over here, and here you can use same columns over here, and there is no rule like if a column is used as a column source here, it should be defined over here, because normally if you go to a normal query like select px create date time from some table where clause like py id equal to 10. So if you take this query, this is being converted in a report definition. This is nothing but a column source, and this table is nothing but the class we are creating this report definition, and this where clause is nothing but this particular filters, right? You got it? And so for these particular aggregate functions you can use this particular summarize option, right? And this is one of the summarize option, and you might be having a query like this: select page from and order by PYID, and if you want ascending order ASC we will be giving. So this particular query is being converted in our report definition with this particular summarize option. Okay, so while we are building some report definition, it would be a good practice first if we know the query, like how we want data, so that we can convert the respective query in a format of report definition by using PEGA functions or PEGA column source or sorting types and all. So here I want some column source like pay status work. Right now here I can select a relationship, like these are all OOTB relationships, and if you go here you can see select values, right? If you click on this and see valid values, there is no data over here, but if there are records with result completed or result withdrawn and all, so those values will be over here, so you can directly select. Otherwise you can give some values here like result completed. Okay, and if you click on settings tab, these are like very important things. Suppose ignore case, there might be some cases where the particular status flag might be resolved hyphen completed. Suppose if you want to consider these records, these records these records, right? So no need to write multiple column sources and no need to give these multiple times in this particular value. just if you go here and select ignore case, all the values with the same name will be considered, right? And if you see here report, while we are displaying report, if you want to restrict that no user can change or edit the filters, you can give this option. Okay, use null if empty. This is like for the source. Suppose if py status work, you want to query only when the value is result completed, then you should not be giving this use null if empty. If you want to consider all the records of py status work even though it doesn't have this value, you can give this and you can add multiple filters. See, this is a condition label handle, automatically the conditions can be hand over here. Suppose if you want to use some or, you can use this, and if you want to use some other flag with like or and combination, you can give that, and you can add another condition over here. Yeah, like this you can give some conditions over here and you can filter more records over here. Suppose with the same combination of this column source and with the same thing you have multiple duplicate records in your table, instead of getting that report definition and again looping in a page list and again removing those records, you have this particular option called as remove duplicate rows. There are two records like one ABC 345 and one ABC 345. So when you are querying a respective status work as result completed, if it fetches like this, again in your report there will be duplicate records. So when the combination of records is of same and you want to remove those, you can just click on this remove duplicate rows. And another thing, this particular filter settings also you can see, like left side of the condition if you want to use you can, or for the entire condition you want to apply the filter, you can apply that. And this display is like more fine tuning, I would be covering in another video. Next chart, this also I would be covering in another video, because once you create a definition and using it as per some like a summary report, then you can see this chart editor. And this is report viewer tab. Here you can see you can give some title to a report, and if you these headers are there, right, these columns, if you want to display you can give this column headings only, otherwise you can just hide the column headings. And if you don't want user to scroll, you can give this. If you don't want users to filter the records, you can uncheck this. If you want, you can give this, and again you have to specify some filter criteria over here. This is like a report body, and this is grouping of results, where you can group multiple records. This grouping is different from this query tab count and count distinct. Okay, and these are also more options for displaying the report in a section. For dashboard purposes and all, these are very useful for us. And these are actions, if you want to export a report to a pdf, or if you want to allow user to save the respective report, you can do this. If you don't want, you can just uncheck it, and if you submit, the user can't save the particular report, so that it allows some security features also for our report definition data. And what is this paginning? Suppose if there are many records, then if you want to show report for, you want to show some 50 records, and in the next page if you want to show some more 50 records, you can use this pagination option. So this is also very useful interview question about pagination option in PEGA for report definition. You can play over here. This smart info is like if you want to provide some more additional information about your report, you can give this smart info thing, and this is not required if you're not showing a particular report definition into a section. Just if you want to use in some data pages and all, and you want to show some progressive loading of the values, you can select this pagination option. Only when user clicks on next tab, the respective records will be loaded. This is data access tab. So here if you see right hand side, the maximum number of rows a report can extract is 10,000. Suppose if you want to consider about performance issues and if you want to give less number, if you can give like 5,000. If you did not give this particular number of rows, default it will consider 10,000 records. At a time it can pull around 10,000 records based on the column source and filters that you have defined in this particular query tab. And if you want to join some other classes, for example this is approve registration, you want to join. So in query in SQL we have inner join, outer join. If you want to achieve this particular thing, you can specify another class over here and class name, and you can specify like whether you want to just include all the rows. If you want left outer join or right outer join, you can choose that by defining the type of the join. And this is declarative index, like how we can get the data from a class, like that from declarative index also we can get the data. And this is an association. And if you want some other report to be part of this particular report, you can give some prefix to it and the class name. Subreports are nothing but like a report that is defined is already in another class. And if you want to use this, after giving this name, you can still configure more things, like click on this configure. So from the subreport, if you want to include all the columns, you can click this. And if you want to apply some filter conditions from subreport, you can select based on your scenario. And if you want the subreport to return more rows, you can select this. If you want only single row, then you can select this. And apart from it, you can add some more joins and you can have these options as well. And you can label a subreport so that for tracing it will be helpful for you. If you want to pass few parameters to subreports, you can configure over here. And if you see here, if you want to export some formatting to PDF or Excel, and if you want to ignore some formatting, you can select these check boxes over here. If not, you can just unselect so that formatting won't be changed. And if you want to add some privileges to restrict users to access the report definition, you can configure this particular privilege tab. And suppose this is a class, and in this class you want to include all the descendant classes, you can select this. Or if you want only implementation class, you can select this parameters tab. Like in all rules, you can define some parameters and these spaces and classes. Suppose if you want to refer some values in this filter, or in data access tab, if you want to define some other class name of pages during filter condition, you can use this. And these are pretty similar. So this is all about report definition rules, and where actually how we can invoke a report definition. In activity also we can invoke a report definition. So in report definition, sorry, in activity, this is the OTB way of calling a report definition. So rule obj report definition is the class. In that we have an activity called as px retrieve report data. This activity helps us to invoke a report definition from a activity. So for this it requires some parameters like report name, report class, page, and all these parameters. So if you want to pass it dynamically, just you can give this value. So but it is a good way of doing parameters. It's a good way of defining parameters like this. So param.py report name, I have given py default report, which is a report definition name, and page name, like the results that report definition gives us back. I want to store this in this page list. And this is the report class, like where this exactly this respective report definition is there. This is there in this class. So I have defined this. So when you run this activity, indirectly the this OTB rule calls this report definition. And where else? So in data pages, if you know, like we will be sourcing many ways. For list structure, if you scroll down under source, if you can see there is a report definition option. So here also you can define some parameter, or if you just click this, all the parameter page will be passed over the report definition. So these are all the ways that we have discussed of using report definition. I will make another video regarding shortcuts and other features in report definition. I don't want to confuse you guys more. Thank you. Happy learning. Please watch, subscribe and share to your colleagues.